Hello and welcome back to An Old Man Watches, where today I'm going to be talking about the 1985 martial arts action movie Gymkata. And the film begins by introducing us to Olympic gymnast John Cabot, who is played by real life Olympic gymnast Kurt Thomas. Cabot is approached by the Special Intelligence Agency, or SIA, presumably because the filmmakers wanted something that is legally distinct from the CIA. And the SIA want Cabot to take part in The Game, a deadly athletic competition that takes place in the fictional mountain country of Parmistan, located somewhere in Central Asia. According to the exposition dump that we're given, Parmistan forces all foreigners to take part in the game, which is basically a cross country endurance race with obstacles and the participants being pursued throughout by Parmistani warriors. If a participant successfully completes the course, they are granted their life, which is nice, I guess, and a wish. If they lose, on the other hand, well, often that can be lethal, though they're not deliberately set out to be murdered. Apparently, it's a bit vague. Presumably, regardless, Palestine not much of a tourism hotspot. So, why would Cabot agree to take part in such a dangerous proposition? Well, there are two reasons. First, patriotism slash the interests of humanity. If Cabot wins, he can use his wish to install a US satellite monitoring station in Parmistan, which could act as an early warning system in case of a nuclear attack, potentially saving millions of lives. I don't know. Does this place need to be staffed? Is it fully automated? Because if it isn't, presumably you've got US citizens running it, and then they're going to be called into the. But don't worry about that. The movie certainly won't. Second, because Cabot's missing father was actually an SIA operative himself and was sent to play the game, so playing the game will now allow Cabot to have his best chance to learn what happened to dear old dad. And so he agrees and begins an intensive period of training that will allow him to adapt his world class gymnastic skills into a lethal form of martial arts. The skill of gymnastics, the kill of karate, as the film's tagline says. The plan is that when Cabot's training is complete, he and a Parmistani princess who works for the SIA will both be infiltrated into the isolated country. And he'll then win the race, which should be simple, right? Well, of course, it's not going to be that easy. The game is difficult to win at the best of times, and there are significantly far from the best of times actually currently going on. There's a communist backed coup being planned in Palestine, and the man behind it is fully aware of the SIA's plans and Cabot's role within them. So, as I noted earlier, the leading role of John Cabot is played by real life gymnast Kurt Thomas. Thomas was an Olympian himself, participating in the 1976 Games, where he didn't win any medals. But after winning 3 golds and 3 silvers at the 1979 World Championships, he was strongly tipped to win medals at Moscow 1980, except, of course, that the US ultimately decided to boycott those Games. In the circumstances, Thomas decided to go professional, which, with the Olympics then having very strict amateurism rules, ruled him out of participating in the 1984 Games. He would have to be content with his World Championship medals and the fact that 3 different gymnastic moves are all named after him. All of which tells me he was a very good gymnast. What he was not, of course, is a trained actor, and it shows. He earned a Golden Raspberry nomination for Worst New Star off the back of this movie. He lost out, if that's the right term, to Bridget Nielsen, who was doubly nominated for her roles in Red Sonja and Rocky IV. So, Gymkata suffers from a stilted performance from its leading man. It also rather suffers from the fact that although Thomas was obviously very fit, he was, like a lot of gymnasts, of a rather short stature. So, unlike, say, an early career Arnold Schwarzenegger, he can't just skate by on his physical presence. Still, I doubt anyone is sitting down to watch Gymkata because they want to see great acting. They're watching it for the action scenes and the goofy premise. And on those metrics, how does the movie hold up? Well, I think it actually starts pretty well. The first 20 minutes of the movie really do live up to the quirky goofball premise of the skill of gymnastics, the kill of karate, as we see Cabot go through one of the most absurd training montages ever committed to film. I get the distinct impression the filmmakers just said to Kurt Thomas, show us some of the stuff you can do and we'll work out what to put in the film. Not least because it's hard to imagine that Cabot could walk up a flight of stairs on his hands was something someone actually wrote for him to do. Probably because, as impressive a feat of strength and balance as it may be, it seems to be a largely worthless achievement in practical terms. It's much less efficient than walking up the normal way, and it stops you from using your hands for useful tasks like opening doors. About the only time this ability would come in handy is if you couldn't walk normally, perhaps if your ankle was broken. And so, what this particular sequence did was give me the false hope that the rest of the movie would be similarly goofy. In an ideal so bad it's good situation, the success of Cabot's entire mission would rest on his apparently useless walk upstairs on my hands capability. You'd find some way to make this actually foreshadowing that would be both pleasingly silly and retroactively make this particular sequence useful. Alas, Gymkata is not the kind of movie that has fancy smancy narrative techniques like foreshadowing, so this doesn't go anywhere. Nor is it the kind of film that has fancy smancy narrative techniques like a romance subplot with any substance. And sure, this is, a factor in many action films of the same time, which were mostly content to just go with two attractive people go through lots of on-screen danger together, so eventually they hook up. But Gymkata can't even be bothered with that much effort. Cabot is introduced to his love interest, Princess Rabati, at the start of his training. They make out a very short time later, at a point in the film where Princess Rabati has not yet delivered a single line of dialogue. Yet we've literally never seen her say a single word to anyone, least of all to John Cabot, but she's the only one in the movie, so it's kissing time. I think that there are two main reasons the film rushes this subplot. First, because Cabot and Rabati are in a relationship nominally increases the stakes whenever her welfare is threatened, which it will be a lot because this is a 1980s action film and the solitary female character's only real role is to be a hostage. Second, because once they're in Palmerston, Cabot and Rabati will spend most of their time separated and will therefore not have any opportunity to make out. So we have to rush it because they're not going to spend any time together. Now, a better solution would, of course, been to restructure the narrative, give the princess more to do and more time with Cabot, or even actually to just give her some lines, possibly even mildly flirtatious lines. But the film is not going to go to that much effort. Gymkata doesn't have time for such nuance, and that's because it needs to devote 75% of its runtime to Cabot getting chased. Boy, does this script love for Cabot to get chased. Cabot gets chased through towns. Cabot gets chased through swamps. Cabot gets chased through forests and villages. Cabot gets chased alone. Cabot gets chased with a friend. Cabot gets chased by enemies on foot and on horseback and in cars. Cabot gets chased. Now, it is true that every now and again, generally when he finds some item of set decoration that looks conveniently like a piece of gymnastics equipment, such as parallel bars, a pommel horse, etc., Cabot will stop being chased for a while so the film can have one of its stilted and rather gimmicky fight sequences. The skill of gymnastics, it turns out, does not actually convincingly deliver the kill of karate. These fights are generally over relatively quickly, however, so the movie can get back to the apparently all important task of Cabot getting chased. Unfortunately, while someone like George Miller might be able to make a movie length chase scene engaging and entertaining, the people making this film are nowhere near as talented. Gymkata rapidly devolves into tedium and squanders the potential charm of its goofy premise. Next time, I've seen several reviews that characterize the 1972 offering Terror at Red Wolf Inn as a horror comedy, but that's not how I would describe the movie. But that's for next time. For now, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you've seen Gymkata, let me know what you thought of it.